What's going on, everyone? I'm Dr. Ryan Baum, sports physical therapist with ENDVR Health.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Edward Kim, sports physical therapist with ENDVR Health.
And we have an absolute special treat for y'all. If you can't even already tell on our table, but we have really good friends to the practice, and we're excited for their practice, the Modern Mommy Physical Therapy. So, if you would please introduce yourself.
Yeah, great. My name is Amy Meehan. I'm a physical therapist. Really specialize in women's health physical therapy, postpartum, and pregnancy. And I think, we just really want to be here today to tell you guys our main goals, and that really is to empower these mamas to really take control of their self-care, coming from the background of also being a mom of two sweet girls and, going through some of these issues myself. We'll get into those in a little bit. Prolapse pain and seeing a physical therapist and realizing how important that really is. And then, Kelly and I used to be neighbors, and over a glass of wine and staring at our baby monitors, we realized we both were having issues with postpartum and the care that we were getting. And that's when we really decided to develop Modern Mommy Physical Therapy.
My name is Kelly Warner. I am also a physical therapist. I have two young boys. I've been a physical therapist for over 10 years. But my passion for women's health actually was ignited when I had my first son and started having my own postpartum problems. And I actually went to a women's health physical therapist and was very much impressed at the drastic improvements I saw, and from there I was sold. And now I really strive to try and educate women not only on the importance of prevention with pregnancy, but also with the postpartum issues, and that these problems that are actually very common are not normal and that they can be treated.
Awesome. So let's just go right off the bat. Why did you start Modern Mommy PT?
I mean, there's so many reasons.
We got time.
I know, but the best thing I think of why we started Modern Mommy, and the cool thing with Modern Mommy is, we're moms ourselves, and we get that it is so hard for not only pregnant women, but these new moms to seek out self-care, because the focus after baby really is shifted, even while you're pregnant, all towards baby. And again, us with our background, the great thing with Modern Mommy is we come to you. You don't have to go anywhere. We actually tote our table into your house and, discuss all of these issues. So that is what really sets Modern Mommy apart from the rest.
That's a huge plus. So you're saying you're going to be actually going to the moms' houses?
Yep, that's right.
Yep. They don't have to worry about Atlanta traffic. They don't have to worry about waiting rooms, childcare. Oh my gosh, that's when my baby naps. What am I going to do? That's what we set up. We say, hey, what's best for you? Your baby wants to sit in the high chair and have a snack while we do our thing? So be it.
So, I know this probably state the obvious, but so why Modern Mommy in terms of what's out there now? Was there anything from a bad experience that you may have gone through that made you think we could do this better? Or the consumers deserve it?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is what Amy just talked about, is that we're going to the moms instead, and finding that time as a mom is so hard. But the other thing is, we are relatable and we're down to earth, and I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to, step on anybody's toes, but I went and saw a pelvic floor therapist in the Atlanta area, and, she offered me great care, but I didn't really feel comfortable, divulging all of my deepest, darkest secrets to her. And so I think that's the big thing with me and Amy, is that we're really down to earth, and we like to think that we make people comfortable and that they can really open to us, and that we're able to build a relationship with them during the care that we're giving them.
Man, that's great. So with Modern Mommy, and especially with all the clients you're going to be seeing, what are some common issues that you see in clients or in your potential clients?
Good question.
The crazy, unfortunate thing with pregnancy and new moms is that there are so many common issues out there that you experience that no one really talks about. But some of the common ones that we treat are hip pain, back pain, groin pain. But the difference with us is a lot of times there's an underlying issue with the pelvic floor. And then not only that, we treat urinary incontinence, pelvic pain, and even just pain from C-section scars.
Could you explain really quickly what the pelvic floor is? So if you're a podcast listener, you're probably going to have to go to our video. But but they have a wonderful model
Yes, this
here
is the best
on
part.
our table.
This
This
is
is
the
a table
best part.
centerpiece.
We're
Yes.
shooting this for those watching and listening. We were shooting this at my house, and they come up to my front door, and she has a wine
Here
bottle
we
in
go.
hand and this pelvic model. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
This is how we
This
like
is
to
gonna
spend
be really
our
good.
Monday night. This is how we like to
My
spend.
bottle.
This is how I like to spend every night. So again, this is
Can
your
we
pelvis.
zoom in?
Yeah, I mean, or
I'll
I can,
zoom it in
yeah,
and
okay.
post or something.
So again, this is your pelvic floor. So we look at these muscles, this basket of muscles, as you guys look at the shoulder or
Okay.
the hip or any of those complex of muscles, okay? So the pelvic floor muscles, they sling from the pubic bone all the way back to your sit bone. What they do is they go around the vagina, they go around the anus, and they hold up all of those organs, those pelvic organs inside, pelvic organs, your bladder, your uterus, your rectum. You get those fun little things. Oh, my baby's the size of a blueberry this week, or oh, she's the size of a lemon. Well, that's great, and this pelvic floor can hold that up. But then you get to, okay, your baby's the size of a watermelon, and you look at this pelvis, and you say, how in the world is this thing holding up a watermelon? And how in the world is a watermelon gonna come out of here without causing any damage? And so that's what your pelvic floor is, and that's why pelvic floor rehab is so important, because, you know, even if you do have a cesarean birth, you have to think of the trauma and the stress that are put on these muscles, not just one time, but over a course of 9 months.
You got to think of it also kind of like it being a hammock. So if the blueberry
That's
is
a good way
sitting
of
in a
putting it.
hammock, there's not a lot of, you know, stress on that hammock. But then when that baby gets to a watermelon, there's a lot more give to that hammock. And so that's why even with cesarean births, the pelvic floor can be affected, because it's not necessarily just the birth, it's the stress and weight of the baby throughout the entire pregnancy.
So is your target audience more for the moms early on in pregnancy, later on in the pregnancy, or pre-pregnancy, or even post-pregnancy?
Everything.
Everything. We would love
Our
to
biggest
start
thing
early.
is prevention, because I think there's
so
so
important.
much there's not enough education during pregnancy and even pre-pregnancy about what the pelvic floor is, and not only that, but how you should be, you know, strengthening it, or what you should be doing to maintain your pelvic floor health. So it's everything.
Yeah, the preventative aspect, like I said, that is what we just want to focus on so much. The education, the empowerment, because if we can start to educate people even thinking about getting pregnant to say, oh my gosh, wow, I have these muscles. Think about it as a marathon runner. You get this person in here that's like, you know what, I want to do this marathon. You're not like, you know what, do a couple runs, have a great marathon. I mean, that's what pregnancy is to us, and that's what that postpartum period is to us. It's, you've got to train those muscles for that. You've got to teach those muscles how to work.
Prepare your
Yeah,
body.
prepare your body not only for pregnancy, but during the pregnancy time frame. You can teach, or we can teach, how to prep yourself for delivery, and that is such a huge aspect of what we do as well.
So
And
let's
that-
say you
yeah.
prepared. What does that look like for a woman if they adequately prepared? Like, because you hit the nail on the head when you talk runners. That's my thing,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
to me, it's like if you're prepared for the race, not only the training plan but the strength, your long-term health looks nice. So what does that? Could you paint a picture? Like, what does that look like for someone that's adequately prepared? What does that look like through pregnancy and beyond?
Well, unfortunately, you know, the birth process isn't, okay, you're doing your race October 25th, like it's start to finish. You go in with your birth plan and you're like, I'm going to have this great natural birth, and you just don't, unfortunately, you just don't know what that plan's going to look like. You may have a traumatic birth experience, cesarean section, I mean, you just really don't know. So I think that is where we really have to go in and individualize each one of these plans. And really, you think, again, if we can get those muscles coordinating and working like they should, regardless of the trauma that they've had, it'll be so much easier. The women will know what to start on day one postpartum.
Got it.
Yeah, and then despite the kind of birth that they had, because that's really uncontrollable. You know, we don't know what's going to happen when a woman's going through labor and birth. But even if they have had a traumatic birth, or it doesn't go the way that they plan, the postpartum recovery is going to be that much easier because they prepared for it.
So it's like an
Definitely.
easier recovery.
Yes.
Yes.
And the big thing is prevention of the common postpartum problems that a lot of women talk about right now. And our big thing is preventing those. If we can educate these women on things that they can be doing, despite the kind of birth that they have, preventing these problems from being an issue after baby comes.
So what are some common unknown issues that you guys would be able to help with?
I have some good stuff for you guys, and I actually wrote this down because I did not want to forget anything. So, some of the common unknown issues that, again, it's so sad that we have to say unknown, right? Because again, these should be known, and that's our job as practitioners to really educate. Again, going back to that empowerment. Pelvic organ prolapse. So again, having that trauma on the pelvic floor, your pelvic organs can actually start to prolapse into the vagina.
Could you show that on the
I would love to
for
show.
our video watchers who
yes.
get to
So
watch
again, it'll be
this?
a little bit challenging because again, this is not to scale
True.
postpartum.
Yes.
So what can happen is through your vaginal canal, again, we talked about those pelvic organs inside of the pelvis. What can happen is you can have some weakness or some decreased tissue tension in that vaginal canal where your uterus can drop down, the bladder can come towards that anterior wall, the rectum can actually start to cave into that vaginal canal, and you see and you feel a visible bulge through the vagina. And again, by strengthening and pulling up that pelvic floor, you won't have that heaviness or that bulging sensation or even that discomfort that comes with pelvic organ prolapse. So that's one of them. Another one, and then this is just, I think, so important for all of our dads and our males out there is, again, painful sex. Decreased orgasm. I mean, hello, these are so important. Go ahead.
That's such a taboo subject. It must.
Totally.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
how
It
would they
should
even?
be.
How would you even approach? If you were,
Yeah.
how would you? Well, I think obviously the visible.
Yeah.
Is it painful?
So
The
in
prolapse.
what
The prolapse?
so
It's
It
gonna be
can
painful?
be.
It can be,
It's
yeah.
Okay.
it's uncomfortable.
It's
Got it.
very,
But
it's
it
very
can be
uncomfortable.
painful.
Yeah.
Probably uncomfortable in
Yeah.
sitting, standing. Probably in all positions.
Usually after the end of your day, because again, that sling
Gotta
of
think of
muscles.
gravity.
It's like any other
Sitting on
muscle.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
it's-
but
yeah, all the gravity. So when you're standing, especially a lot of women will complain about it after they've been on a walk with baby, or
Yeah.
if they've gone and tried to work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of times it's after a lot of standing, gravity dependent activities.
and if you don't address it, it can actually get worse.
How so?
So, because again, you have to think those muscles. If you don't teach a person proper breathing techniques, think about Valsalva. So Valsalva is holding of the breath and straining. And so if we don't teach proper breathing habits,
nutrition, if
Yeah.
they're constipated, constipation is going to make it worse.
yeah.
Because they're going to bear down when they're going and having a bowel movement, so it's going to make that prolapse worse. So nutrition and talking about even bowel movements is really important in what we do also.
Yep. And you guys quickly got off the subject of painful sex and decreased orgasm.
I wanted to make sure I followed up appropriately.
So I'm gonna go back to that.
Yeah, wrap that back in. Wrap that.
I think
Okay,
Ryan was trying to veer away from it.
into
Yeah.
that.
So I'm like, I'm gonna pull you guys back in with that. So again, the pelvic floor is so important. And again, I know we talk a lot about the anatomy, but there's those muscles that there's those superficial muscles that again, there's a baby coming out of your vagina. So the likelihood that you may tear or have an episiotomy, that's just where they kind of make a small incision for easier passage for baby. You have to, that's a scar. So you guys know exactly what scars are. There's desensitization that you have to do. So sex can be painful. Those muscles, there's a clitoral hood, and if that clitoral hood can't be pulled back by proper muscle activation, the clitoris can't be stimulated. And who wants that? Like, no woman wants that, right?
Noted.
So,
Or man,
yeah,
or
or
husband.
man.
Yeah.
And so again, it shouldn't be something taboo. It should be something very open and for people to talk about, because again, your body's already changed after baby. You already don't necessarily feel in your best, sexual health, I guess you could say. But when, you've had this magical experience, to not have these once amazing things, it really can affect a woman's mentality.
And you brought up a good point, because I made a video a few weeks ago about how health isn't just physical.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not about ill, and it's social is one of them. And I could foresee how that could potentially make things socially
Yeah.
like just bad in a marriage,
Yeah.
friendships, things like that.
Well,
or
and
it
it's
could
the same thing, like not only sexually, and being intimate with your husband, but it's also, as a woman, whether you're pregnant or postpartum, you want to get back to doing the things that you love to do.
Exactly.
And so if you're having these, this discomfort because of this heaviness and prolapse issues, or you're urinating and leaking urine when you run or jump, and you're trying to go back to your activities that you like to do in your mom's groups, that affects
So
a
important.
woman a lot.
It's so
It
important.
makes you feel like you're not yourself after baby.
Yeah.
So it's huge.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a side question. So basically, when you guys are going in, addressing these common issues, common unknown issues, how much of that plays more into the emotional aspect of it? Because I know you guys will have to do the invasive, hands-on,
Yes.
actual assessment.
Yeah.
But then mentally and emotionally, where does that tie into the treatment?
It's everything.
It's everything.
It's
And I
everything.
think that is where we really strive to set ourselves apart. Is again, we get it. We've been there. We understand that. There's been times where I've even talked to my OB. Even luckily I have Kelly that we talked about our own issues. That it brings on this wave of emotions because sometimes you don't know what's going on as a female, and that can be so scary.
And sometimes you don't even know that you're that emotional about it until you start talking about it. And again, that's why we're such big advocates about communication and getting women to talk about it, whether it's with their husband or their girlfriend or a medical practitioner. But you don't realize that emotion is being held inside when you're having these problems. And when you do start talking about it, I know myself, I just tears started gushing down because you just don't feel like yourself.
So how would those emotions ever be brought up? Is it because I would assume you would never talk about it with your doctor. Does it just happen just if you had someone trustworthy and a friend for it to be opened up?
I guess that's a skill set that they would bring.
Yeah.
Well, that and it's educating dads and moms and friends of moms and friends of dads that you really have to ask the women. I mean, again, after that baby comes, it's all about the baby. And so many people forget that the mom is going through a lot. It's a recovery period. Like you have to think about, the physiological changes that happen with giving birth and with an injury to a certain part of the body. So,
I think too, it's, with Modern Mommy in mind, we wanted to create, this is huge for us, we wanted to create a safe place, safe place for any mom at any stage, even after miscarriage, to come to us and say, hey, I feel safe. These are my issues, and not for them just to tell them their issues, but say, hey, you know what? We can offer treatment for these issues. And then at that point, we really can assess. There's plenty of questionnaires, and you guys know, I mean, you can have questionnaires for days that can assess postpartum depression and anxiety and all of these things. And those are things that we would definitely screen for and also refer out as needed. I mean, we have that team approach. We've got counselors that we refer out to. We have primary cares that we refer out to because, again, we're getting intimate and we're getting into those conversations that they may not be having, and we've got to be able to screen for that as practitioners in our skill set to say, you know what, you need to seek additional help.
It's good, and that's probably why I wanted to invite you guys here was because, one, I think as the sports PTs, honestly, our demo skews a little male on our social media,
right? As it should, yeah.
But also too, I think as sports PTs, I don't need to be the expert of this.
Right. Yeah.
I just need to know who is the expert.
Right. Exactly.
Which is why I was so excited to have you.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, well then, what are some of the biggest mistakes women make when embarking on the journey of pregnancy and motherhood that you've seen?
I think the big thing is for women in any stage, whether it's pregnancy or postpartum, is just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that women do in pregnancy. Even myself, I mean, I'm a physical therapist. I should know better, but I didn't because, again, this isn't common knowledge to everybody. There's when you're trying to maintain your fitness during pregnancy, there's certain things that you shouldn't be doing because it could really be causing more problems down the road, and you don't know that, and you're not necessarily gonna feel that while you're doing it, but it's after baby comes and you start having these problems. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we always like to say you can't skip the hard stuff to get to the fun stuff. Okay. So as much as you want to say, all right, I've been cleared by my doctor, I can go run, you think, oh my gosh, your poor pelvic floor and your abdomen that's split open, like what are you doing to your poor body? Yeah. And you may feel good as you're doing it, 6 weeks to 10 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're 6 months postpartum and you're like, oh my gosh, you're peeing. When you run, or you have to wear a pad because you're peeing. Yeah, every time your foot hits the ground and things like that. So again, I think that's the biggest thing is just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you should do it. And you hear so much with pregnancy, don't do this and don't do that, and you can't do this and you can't do that. Well, again, that's our expertise. We're not here to tell you can't do it. We're here to show you how to do it properly.
There are modifications.
Yes.
Like, we are the biggest advocates of fitness during pregnancy and postpartum, but there's ways to go about it the right way, so you're not creating problems down the road. And again, it comes back to that whole prevention thing for us, that we're really on the trying to educate these women that there's things you can do to prevent these problems that everyone thinks is a normal part of motherhood afterwards, but it's not normal.
Is that a generational thing, the approach that it's normal?
Unfortunately, I think, even with our own mothers, it's, you say the word vagina and they're like, honey, we're in public.
This line's really nice.
We're in public. But I think now it's just... I think you're getting this new wave, and unfortunately, a lot of your social media influencers are like, "Fit body mom, I'm 2 weeks postpartum," and they're back in their skinny jeans.
It's
not real. And so you have these poor women that are striving for that, and again, so the generational thing of they just didn't know the care was there. It's not as accessible, but now you have this other generational shift of okay, well, this is the new normal of you should bounce back to your pre-baby body. So everybody's like, let's go to CrossFit. I'm 4 weeks out. And you're like, you haven't done CrossFit in like 6 months. Like, you guys wouldn't tell your clients ever to do that, right?
After an ACL or an ACL tear, right? There's things you need to do to get back to that.
Even with the professional athletes that want to get, and they have the time crunch, there's some pretty high objective measures we have to meet. That I would love to see them meet. So you're right.
I mean, just like you said, you can't skip the hard stuff or skip the boring stuff, especially the simple stuff, in order to do and progress towards more advanced stuff.
Exactly.
So, are there any new? Well, so this is related to the generational question, but are there any new approaches to women's health that fly in the face of the old ways, and are there any approaches that still hold true, standing the test of time?
Yeah, we've got some good stuff on this.
I think one of the biggest ones is you hear so much about Kegels. Like, women are told, even by their OBs.
Cosmopolitan magazine.
Right. Like, go do your Kegels. But there was a study that was done that showed 40% of women that were told and instructed to do a Kegel exercise were doing them incorrectly. And then in addition to that, 25% of them were actually doing them in a way that was creating more problems. It was creating harm.
And that was just someone saying, like, your doctors or online or anything that's like, okay, do a Kegel. This is what a Kegel is, and they give you all these crazy cues. But no one's really truly assessing
whether you're doing it right or not.
Right, exactly.
And that's why we're so passionate about this, and that's where we kind of come in, is that we can assess and help teach these women, okay, this is how you really should be doing it. It's not a bearing down. There's a technique to it. So
coordination, timing, I mean, all of that comes into play.
And you got to think these muscles, it's a basket of muscles, and these muscles are very similar to any other muscle in the body. There's fast twitch and slow twitch fibers.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah. So it's not just a contraction. You got to work both
the coordination,
the fast and the slow twitch fibers.
And you also got to know what muscles to work and what muscles to relax too.
Exactly. That's a huge thing, because again, Kegels is just a contraction. Like, you would never be like, okay, just contract all day and you're fine, when someone only has this much range of motion, right?
True.
So same thing for us is, with that internal exam, we assess, we can feel, you guys can feel when an upper trap's tight. We can all feel that, right? Same thing with these pelvic floor muscles. It's just the way that we access them maybe a little bit differently. We can feel for trigger points. We can feel for top bands, and we would work that and then bring it all back in, retrain them, neurological re-education.
And that's kind of where this new approach is coming in, from what you're asking. The new approach now is there's a lot more emphasis on not telling women to do Kegels, because a lot of times there's a lot of tension, and those pelvic floors are overactive. There's too much tension, so you got to get that tension to relax, and then from there, then you strengthen. So that's kind of where some of the newer treatment strategies are coming in.
I mean, Arnold Kegel, I think it's Arnold. Is that Mr. Arnold that we're talking about? Yes, I wrote his name down because I didn't want to forget his first. Arnold, yes, Arnold Kegel. 1940s, guys, okay? 1940s, like, just think about that. He was onto something when he said if a woman activates her pelvic floor, it can have benefit, postpartum, right? But think how much evidence-based research has been done since the 40s for women and their pelvic floor muscles. So it's not just the Kegels.
So it shouldn't be named after him anymore.
Well, no, I mean, no, you know what?
He's famous.
You gotta let him have
What
it.
you're saying is it should be named after you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we wish we could take the credit.
Let me ask you guys, how important is it to have a complete medical team for your clients? So basically, who, in your opinion, is the all-star roster for women?
We are all about the team approach, and we like to kind of think of ourselves as the quarterback for these women, especially postpartum.
Yes.
But I'm going to read something because this is really
So
huge.
great.
It came out in May from the ACOG, the American College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists. So they actually have proposed a new paradigm for postpartum care that states, it is recommended that women have contact with their OBGYN within the first 3 weeks postpartum. This initial assessment should be followed up with ongoing care as needed, including a comprehensive postpartum visit no later than 12 weeks after birth. So now they're saying initially 3 weeks, within 3 weeks, and then again at 12 weeks. And at that 12-week appointment, it should include a full assessment of physical, social, and psychological well-being, to include mood and emotional well-being, infant care and feeling, sexuality, contraception and birth spacing, sleep and fatigue, chronic disease management, and physical recovery from birth and health maintenance. So again, this is from the ACOG, and so again, we're big on this. Like, you know, you hear so much about postpartum depression and the baby blues, and again, it's going back to the mom. You got to take care of that mom so she can be there for her family.
Yeah, and it's a big thing. You know, it's not just primary care and OB, like we're saying. It's your mental health counselor. It's your lactation consultants. It's those silly little moms groups that, you know, our husbands may think we're going to. But again, I think also just don't forget about your pelvic floor mommy PTs as well. So again, that all tie and get together. We really want to we just want to change that pregnancy and postpartum care. We want to change how it's looked at and make it just very comprehensive. And I think that's hopefully where, you know, the tides are turning. So
And I think that's so important, especially, you know, after my wife and I had our kid about a year ago. It's just after we have the baby, it's just we're so involved with the baby. I think most of the times when us and other friends talk about it, we don't really think about what's going on with the mom. You know, just emotionally, I mean, I know they're struggling with this breastfeeding or emotional or physical. I mean, they just went through childbirth. So therefore, I think that it's good to kind of cut it down from 6 week appointment to even 3 week to address those issues early.
And I think it is good because it definitely is being talked about more and more. I mean, you do hear people talking more about baby blues and the postpartum depression, and, you know, you hear celebrities talking about it and being open about it. So I think the doors are being open to that, but there needs to be a lot of emphasis from the husband and friends and family to just ask the mom, how are you doing today? Like, are you okay? You know, do you need any time? Just even if it's 10 minutes to go take a hot bath and just decompress.
yeah, for sure.
So I know I asked you earlier when we were kind of hanging out. Do you think will this change maternity leave at all? What do you think?
We would
Your
like to
opinion.
think
We
so.
could, yes.
In an ideal world,
In what
what would
way?
that look like?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, well, it's so funny now. I think both of ours, we got just like your FMLA. It was like
6 weeks.
6 weeks. I think my husband got like 12 weeks, like paid maternity leave, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
well,
Yeah, that could get into a whole
so
other
yeah,
podcast.
I mean,
We'd like to think
we would
so,
love
but
for it
you
too,
just
but
never know.
again, it's
It's funny because like my wife and I were talking about this because I'm in healthcare, she's not. But women in the healthcare get less maternity leave compared to women not in healthcare. Like physical therapists, nurses, you know, doctors, their maternity leave is so short compared to women in business. And it's, I don't know, it's just very odd to me.
Yeah. We agree. We definitely agree.
So here at Endeavor Health, then, we believe that health, and we talked about this a little bit, is that health is more than just physical. It's physical, mental, social. So let's talk social. Dr. Kim is soon to be a soon dad of 2.
Yes.
And so
Yep.
what do you suggest he could do to help his wife live a healthy lifestyle and prepare for the arrival of number 2?
Yes.
I mean, I think it goes back to what we were just saying, like asking her how she's doing and you know, giving her time to go off and do her own thing. But also, we hope that this is, you know, opening up the space to talk about those pregnancy and postpartum issues and making sure that she's aware that there are people she can see if she needs help.
Yeah, I think too the big thing is, again, giving her that space to talk about it, opening that up and giving her, be like, hey, if you need to go see someone, if you need to, you know, have your pelvic floor PT come here, like that's available. If you need to go see a mental health counselor, like that's okay. I support you through all of that.
And that there's nothing wrong with it.
No, not at
You
all.
know, that it's not a negative if she does.
None of
it's
this
okay
is.
because the most important thing is making sure her well-being is taken care of.
For sure.
Yeah. So what about on my end? So what can Dr. Bombs do over here to support and help his wife as they hopefully prepare and plan for a family one day?
So I think the best advice for you guys is just enjoy the whole journey together. Enjoy the ride.
Good. I like
Yeah,
that.
go to the movies now. Go to all those festivals you want to go to because life doesn't stop when
Enjoy
you get
the date
pregnant.
nights.
Yeah, like
True.
stay up late, you know, like sleep in late, you know, do all of that fun stuff and just really just take it in stride. Just take it in stride. But then don't forget that it's not all swaddle blankets and cool strollers because when baby gets here, like shit gets real. It does. It
I don't
really
even know what a swaddle blanket is.
Yeah.
Inexperienced guy.
yeah. So again, I think that, you know, just again, knowing again for both of you guys, knowing that there's not just support for mom out there, there's support for the dads too. And even the men or other moms in people's lives, that there's support not just for the mother birthing the baby, but for the fathers too, because again, it's life-changing, it's magical, but we're here on the backside to again talk about those not so talked about
I
issues.
think that's important because I think you know, wives can talk to their husbands about what's going on, but if they can talk to, you know, you guys, you ladies come in and be on a more of a like a level playing field, so because you guys understand what's going on. As a husband, I try my best to understand what's going on, try to be there for her, but then at the same time,
Of course.
I think sometimes, you know, my wife,
You need a woman. And,
she needs someone else to talk to.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a great space for you guys to come in,
Yeah.
especially when you guys go into the mom's house, you're entering their comfort zone.
Yes.
So it makes it much more comfortable for them to open up rather than them going to you guys and opening up in a random clinic with white walls, you know, treatment table.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Cool. I got a question from the audience. I will leave that person unnamed. Could you still do ab workouts when you're pregnant?
Oh, do you
Yes.
want to say yes? You
Yes,
can.
of course you can.
Yes,
Okay.
you can.
There's just the right and wrong way to do it.
Absolutely.
What's the wrong way?
So-
let's go with the wrong
Go
first.
the wrong way. I
Lot-
think it's
Lots. I mean, you really want it. It depends on where you are in your pregnancy.
Okay.
Of course.
And it also depends on how much body awareness you have.
Yeah.
You know that you guys know
True.
there's a lot of people
Yes.
out there that really do have good body awareness and have good technique when they're exercising, and there's those people that don't, and you
That's
really
okay,
that's
yeah.
okay.
That's
yeah.
okay. Yes.
Yeah. So the big thing is just making sure, you know, you hear so much about diastasis recti right now,
Yes.
and so really avoiding any increased pressure to that area, which is going to cause a diastasis recti to potentially get worse.
Yes.
So what is a diastasis recti for those on the visual?
Yes. Yes.
So six-pack muscles. So everybody knows you hear six-pack muscles. Everybody knows your six-pack muscles, right? So you have your six-pack muscles that span from xiphoid process all the way down to your pubic bone. So right underneath your sternum,
this.
all the way down. I'll bring pretty pelvis out, all the way back down to your pubic bone, okay? So they span all the way up the front. Well, again, with your growing, I gotta put this the right way. With your growing abdomen, what happens is those muscles, again, with a lot of tension, and again, sometimes it just happens spontaneously. That linea alba, that fascial sheath right in between, sometimes can split open, okay? And with that, again, a lot of people really are like, well, what about my gap? My gap's getting bigger. My diastasis is getting bigger. again, for us and for most women, it doesn't need to be about that gap and closing of that gap. It's really the tension across that gap. So that's where we come into soft tissue assessment. We come into breathing techniques, making sure you're not holding your breath, strengthening your transverse abdominis, all of those other muscles to take the stress and the pressure off those six-pack muscles so you don't make that diastasis or that ab separation worse during pregnancy or postpartum.
Could you close the gap?
You definitely
Possibly.
can.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But is it like a for sure? Is it like a goal you in mind you have to get?
Because a lot, you know, the diastasis, I mean, it's very common in women because you've got to have that room for baby to grow, right? Okay. But some women have it a lot worse than others. Yeah. So you see some women who only have maybe, 2 fingers width of a gap, and then you can see other women who've got 4. Yeah. So it really depends on the severity. And also, you also look at the depth of it, the floor of that diastasis recti. So it's not just the gap, but it can be closed.
Yeah, you hear a lot of like the mummy tummy and like the mummy pooch and all of that, and that's kind of where that comes into play. But again, if we can create that appropriate tension across that abdomen and teach women how to bring their ribs back in and place their pelvis,
correct breathing,
and take that pressure off.
Breathing is huge nowadays.
It really is. I mean, if we can bring all of that home for them, again, are we going to correct it? I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did. I wish I could be like, yes, every time.
I appreciate the honesty. I think that's huge.
We know that we can make it better.
A change.
Yes. There are things that you should and should not be doing if you do have a diastasis recti after pregnancy. There's
So what's an ab exercise you can do?
Oh gosh.
There's a lot.
And I know
it's so much. It's just a lot of recruitment of the deep core muscles. So your transverse.
Let's talk big old pregnancy belly. So let's talk third trimester. Okay. Like you're breathing heavy to go up the stairs third trimester. So again, you can't hardly get out of bed,
Just
right?
Be great for my wife right now. She's in her third trimester right now.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do again. When people think ab workout is not crunches. That's not what it's all about. It's that core stability. Pelvic floor, diaphragm is still part of your core. Starting to work that transverse abdominis muscle, the one that wraps all the way around to really give you that lumbar and assist with that abdominal support. So you could start there, lying on your back, figuring out what is transverse abdominis, finding that muscle, contracting, being able to breathe through it, being able to elongate it, and then really start working your functional activities from there. Your sit to stand, your mobility from supine to sideline to getting out of bed. I mean, the simple pleasures, in your third trimester.
I'm hearing all this, and obviously the nerd sports ortho mind's like, can you squat or can you
Of course.
Functional movements.
Yeah. But again, it's about the breathing and making sure that you're not increasing that intra-abdominal pressure because that increase in the intra-abdominal pressure is what can lead to, a worse diastasis recti, your prolapse, even sometimes your urinary incontinence. So again, it's all about how to do these things correctly.
And for listeners that are here, watchers that are here, please don't take it that as like a blank check. Oh, I could do it.
Yes.
I think it clearly shows the amount of detail and intricacies that
it's different for everybody.
You could, but you really might want to get that checked.
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
you could set yourself up for an injury.
A lot of problems down the road.
Yeah. And again, we've been there.
Okay.
With my first pregnancy, I was on the treadmill. I mean, I'm a runner. I love to run. I was going 1.9 miles or whatever it is. I was 1.9 on the treadmill at, 39 and a half weeks pregnant. I mean, so I am all about it. I went and I did my workout. Yeah. I'm exhausted.
So you kept moving.
You can still lift, you can still squat, you can still do all of those things, but there's a specific way to do it.
Got it.
And then even with the second, I mean, I lifted my weights. But I modified it. Got to the point in my pregnancy where I said, you know what, it's time to modify now so I don't injure myself. So you have all those hormones that come into play, those relaxin hormones. Thank God for those hormones. Because again, those relaxin hormones and your estrogen increases, all of that helps with that flexibility of the pelvis. But that also can set you up for increased injury if you're not doing things appropriately.
As easy as an ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if it's like, if you're the athlete listening or watching this, it's almost like you're going to be relearning the things that you loved to do, you're gonna have to relearn it again.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would hope that if someone that was already had a routine already, then some sort of motor awareness had been developed, so it's not new.
Yeah.
Whereas for someone that never exercised before and suddenly in their third or second trimester, like, hey, let's exercise.
Right.
Hold the brakes.
Yeah,
Pump
but
the
it's
brakes
still,
a
but
little bit,
again,
right?
I think yes, but no, and I still think because exercise, I mean, it is proven, you know, study upon study that it is crucial during pregnancy, crucial for during pregnancy. So really, we encourage exercise at any point in time during pregnancy.
But I guess like the skill level, the skill level, they're not going to be suddenly
Yes.
got it. Okay.
Going and running 3 miles if they've never run before.
Yes, right,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
So that'll kind of segue into our next question from the audience then. How do you know what your limit is when you're pregnant when working out? Because I guess the question from the audience is, right now they're not pregnant but they're pushing themselves. So how do you know what is your limit?
While you're pregnant, that's the question. So how do you know what your limit is while you're pregnant?
Yeah.
I think listening to your body is huge.
Okay.
You know, if you're having pain anywhere, that's
Heaviness, that sensation of heaviness in your vagina. I mean,
So how do you
all
know
of that.
that heaviness isn't just from the baby, just that everyday heaviness?
That's the issue because again, you're going back to, well, it's common, but it's not normal. You shouldn't have all of that heaviness.
We're getting schooled tonight.
Yeah, you
This is good.
shouldn't. All that heaviness and that pressure and that round ligament pain and low back pain. It is so common that people are looking at it as normal.
It's not normal.
Wait, and it's not necessarily normal, and you really don't have to live with that pain while you're pregnant. There's a lot of things that you can do, such as if you are having that pressure and that heaviness, you know, there's a lot of belts and things out there right now that you can put on that will help lift baby up a little bit and give you more support so you don't have all that pressure.
So then ideally women should be pain-free?
I think
From
that's
pregnancy,
relative.
or-
I mean,
That's
I'm
hard to
sitting
say.
here like not pain free. I mean, like I'm in a hard seat. So I think that's just relative because it's making you more comfortable. Your body is changing. Oh my gosh, it's a miracle what a woman's body can
It's
do
amazing.
within a short amount of time. So
gonna-
you're gonna have some growing discomforts, I'll say.
And neck pain, you're gonna have your neck pain and your back pain, but
And your rib pain and your hip pain.
yeah,
your
and
foot
again,
pain.
that's all really common. But for pregnant women to really know that there are avenues to have those things looked at and potentially treated while they're pregnant.
Yes.
They don't have to live with that while they're pregnant the entire
Your pregnancy journey should not be one that you look back and be like, that was miserable.
Right. Thank God that's over.
Yeah, it really
Maybe
shouldn't.
the last week or two.
Yeah, I mean, you're walking baby out, doing really deep squats at that point. So, but your pregnancy journey and your postpartum journey, you should not have consistent pain.
Well, funny story, when Gina was pregnant with her first baby, we were right on schedule. No, he was a couple days late. Our doctor was like, hey, go do something active. You know, go walk a couple miles or even go climb Stone Mountain. And she was serious. So 40 weeks and like 2 or 3 days, we climbed up Stone Mountain. And,
for her.
Yeah, and everyone, honestly, and everyone that walked by us they're like clapping, congratulating her. But then
awesome.
we were like, oh my gosh, if she pops, what are we gonna do?
Right.
But honestly, she climbed all the way up Stone Mountain and walked all the way back down.
Great.
That's awesome.
But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's amazing what your body can do, and
It is.
especially
I'm
being
sure she was
active.
huffing and puffing a little bit there.
Oh yeah, but I mean, she made it up.
Yeah, because again, I think too, with our background and our knowledge is, that's what we study, is we study how is the body changing during pregnancy. I mean, you think you have this growing abdomen, your diaphragm's pushed up. You have to think about, again, we'll speak y'all's language, your VO2 and all of that, your oxygen expenditure, your blood volume increases.
That's all changing.
Yeah, all of that's changing.
It's like a moving target.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And so you have to take all of that into account. Your blood pressure, gestational diabetes, all of those things that can happen during pregnancy.
And that goes back to kind of what you were asking about, the exercise. It's going to be different for everybody because some women may have that gestational diabetes and they may be restricted in certain ways that someone who doesn't. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Modern Mommy PT, how can they get a hold viewers and podcasters?
Yep.
How can they get a hold
Yes.
of you?
Yes.
One of the easiest ways is our website. It's www.modernmommypt.com. We have an Instagram handle, Modern Mommy Physical Therapy. And you can also email us if you would rather email us. It's info@modernmommypt.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If you could provide one tip to all the moms out there listening, what would it be?
Come
Pregnant
see
moms.
us. Yes. Come see us. Don't make this journey uncomfortable. Ask the questions, because if you have the question, probably someone else has the question too.
Don't be afraid to talk about it. Yeah, even if it's maybe a little embarrassing, or you think it may be a little gross. Like it's really common, but it's really not normal, and that these things can be addressed.
Yeah, it's reality.
Yeah.
Great tip.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
you. Yes.
Thank you,
ladies,
guys. Thank
for
you very
coming. Thank you for being our first podcast guest.
Yeah,
Hope
we
to
love
have
it.
more, but hope to have you back one day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
to talk about how it's been.
Yeah, for
how the
sure.
journey's been going.
For sure.
And how your wife's been.
Yeah.
And maybe.
Maybe.
Your wife.
Yeah, maybe.
Brian, we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see. But thank you so much for your time and
Thank
your
you.
expertise.
We
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
bringing in the wine.
Yeah.
Yes, and the
And the
vagina.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate it.